Perhaps given the uh, evidence before us, we might want to rule out the other moneylender first, and then we can perhaps seek to determine, and he holds up the piece of cloth, where this originated from.
We can certainly go speak to him as well.
And you find the pawn shop hidden between bathhouses and cheap apartments. A linen wall hang acts as a curtain, and on it says Doro to go to. Beyond is a dimly lit room with a mix of items: clothing, utensils, sandals, a parasol, and a handful of cheap-looking weapons. An older gentleman of about 60, with long grey hair, is standing there next to a woman of similar sort of age. And she is poking him in the chest and saying, "Why did you buy a shed that has no roof?"
Wait, what?
And they turn and see you standing in the door. And she walks over to you and she says, "Young man," to Daisuke, "if you bought a shed, would you buy one that did not have a roof, like my fool of a husband?"
Wait, but I didn't buy the shed.
No, he bought the shed.
The missus bought the shed.
I most certainly did not buy the shed, young man. He bought the shed.
No, she bought the shed. I'm merely putting it together.
Why are you putting together the shed?
Okay. Do we really have to do this? Because maybe he's so stupid? I don't know. Oh, I can't insult him? I would never insult him. No. Not when we need to ask him questions. Huh. Daisuke looks dumbfounded and confused.
I apologize if we have interrupted an argument.
Oh, it's not an argument. It's what he's always doing, trying to save money and doing something stupid.
For the record, I did not buy this shed. It comes with a roof. I just want to put a roof over the top of it. Not fair.
Right. It's not
And he's
fair.
like, all right, dear, go do something useful for once. And she walks off like, die. Can I help you?
Well, we are looking for someone, and your name came up in our investigation.
Why, what'd you hear?
That he owed you money?
I am a money lender. It is not uncommon for people to owe me money.
We had not suggested that it was uncommon.
It might be weird if you went and murdered him for his money. Wait.
Says Daisuke.
I don't think he had particularly much of money. I think that was the problem.
We haven't said who we were talking about.
We're in a city with drug addicts, and unfortunately, drug addicts make up a decent amount of my clientele. They suffer from many problems, one of them being an inability sometimes to pay back their debt in a timely manner.
Or to stay alive.
We are looking for Doji Hiroshige.
one of the missing.
Yes.
One of?
Yes? And Chiaki now looks confused at Daisuke, considering we've been given quite the list of missing people.
No, well, Daisuke's... You may continue.
All right, Sage-san. 5 of my debtors are missing. I have enough contacts in the underworld, and they have heard absolutely nothing. And they have all assured me that they were not at all involved in their demises, if in fact they are dead. I did, however, have 3 large samurai come in and tell me to drop my inquiries. The leader had a cat tattoo. I'd never seen him before, but the other 2 I'd known in passing. I don't know their names, and I don't know where they actually come from, but I know that they hire themselves as muscle to the gangs.
Where was this cat tattoo located?
On his neck.
I rather thought it might be.
All the missing are opium addicts. The 2 most prominent are Hiroshige, who I knew went to the Golden Dream, and Machiko, who was known to go to the Green Rest.
Did these samurai tell you why you should cease looking into this?
Yes, for my health.
Ah,
And longer life. And they stole my roof. As a warning.
well, if we were less concerned with the shortening of our lives and worsening of our health, where would you say to begin looking the Golden Rest?
I think either of those would be quite acceptable. But if any big, unsympathetic samurai ask, I never saw you.
All right.
The cat tattoo on the neck of the samurai. Have you seen such a thing before?
I've seen tattoos before. I have not seen that particular samurai before.
Is the cat tattoo significant in any way?
I am only familiar with one group that would use a cat as a symbol, but this does not sound connected.
Perhaps the 2 are related or not. I'm not quite sure, but perhaps we should go visit the Golden Dream next.
I think we should, yes.
As you move along, the street becomes worse. And it definitely feels like this is possibly the worst quarter of the town. You find the Golden Dream looking more like the Yellow Nightmare. There is 6 people scattered on the street. They are alive, and their glassy, distant expressions show that they are addicts. There is a large open archway with a misty sort of look to it.
I suppose this is the place.
I fail to see the appeal.
So, shall we go in and inquire about Hiroshige?
Takes a deep breath of fresh air before walking into the den.
And Chiaki will follow. Right when they step through the door, Chiaki is sniffing the air and she will turn to Daisuke and say, It is definitely opium, but it smells very different from the opium in the magistrate's office.
Different? It certainly smells stronger.
It's like it's a different type, or I am unsure.
I thought all opium was the same.
I could not claim to be an expert or even particularly knowledgeable.
Perhaps the burning of them might differ. As he points over to a pipe that has a faint blue flame.
Within is filthy. There are not so much beds as piled rags. There are about 20 people who are either smoking or have been in the process of having smoked. There is a thick haze, which is definitely opium smoke over the entire day. On the far side, you can see two large individuals, and they have tetsubos. And coming through the misty interior is a woman. She is about 50. She is dressed in a kimono, which is showing definite smoke stains now, which would once have been a very fine silk kimono. It is not now. Her hair is immaculate and her teeth are black. And she glides up to you. And it's hard to tell if she may have been a geisha, but certainly isn't now, because no geisha would be working like this. So it's possible she was a failed geisha or an aspiring geisha or flat out fraudulent geisha. Hard to tell, but she is definitely trying to be elegant, and to a certain degree she is. It's lost, though, in the atmosphere of this den. And den is a good word. How may I help so esteemed samurai such as yourself? She says, looking at Chiaki.
Who begins to look very nervous.
Well, we are looking for someone, and we have been told that here is one of the last places he was seen.
We see many people that come and go. It is transient by nature.
She's looking at Daisuke like, help?
I am sure that is the case. However, he has gone missing, and since this was one of the last places he was known to be, we are just looking for any information we can find.
I do not know much, but I believe that Toru, Hiroshige, and Fubato have vanished. I also feel that it's possible that the other dens are having similar issues.
I see.
I have been losing some customers.
For how long have you been losing some customers?
I think it started about 6 weeks ago. It is not the easiest thing to fully comprehend. The nature of the clientele, and she makes a elegant sweeping gesture to the denizens of the den.
Have you heard any sort of rumors? I imagine such a place would be full of them.
Many. Unfortunately, while for some the blue flame creates a heightened level of clarity, for many it creates a level of conspiracy and paranoia, which makes
The,
them unreliable witnesses.
the blue flame?
A new blend of opium. More powerful, more exquisite, more expensive.
Where. How new?
Very. We are one of the few that have access to it.
And that is all you sell?
That is all we sell.
What about the other dens?
For the most part, the dens just focus on the dragon. Some sell nightly. How to put it delicately? Company.
Chiaki looks lost.
How do the general folks afford such pleasantries?
Well, some go to the money lenders, and they go, and they go, and they go until they can go no more.
Surely at some point the moneylenders must realize that they would be unable to pay back such large sums.
I think at that point, if they have some use, they try to find them some use. For some, they come with money. Some manage their addiction better than others. And some are of rank.
Like samurai?
She smiles and sort of nods, but she's being coy.
Shall we go to the next den and
I
see who's
suppose.
missing from there?
Thank you for your time.
And she places her hands on her thighs, and as she bows, she slides them down. Very formally.
I guess Daisuke will bow and say, "Thank you."
Well, I guess we will leave, and the other opium den we're familiar with, well, heard of, not familiar with, is the Green Rest, so we can look for that one.
I wonder if. Well, if all the people that were missing smoked this new sort of opium, does that. It might just be a coincidence. But didn't you say the fabric you found had opium that smelled stronger?
I just assumed that it was a stronger smell because of its form.
True.
So the Green Rest is less busy and in a slightly better part of town.
Okay.
It has a door which is open and two cloths that are hanging down. Just like curtains, like door curtains.
Strange. It almost makes the air feel thicker.
Yes, the air was pretty thick in there, wasn't it?
I hope this is the last opium den we have to go to for a while. Well, shall we?
Daisuke will part the curtains and usher Becca-san inside.
Chiaki will enter.
And this place looks nicer. It has soft mattresses. It has blankets. The place has colour.
Mm.
It has booths rather than just a great big open area where people are thrown into. It is still most definitely an opium den, but it doesn't seem to have quite the castaway feel that the other one did. And an old man, he has one hand behind his back and he's bent over and using a cane. he's got a crane samurai. Come here, boy.
I will lean on you.
And he comes over and he's like, and he looks at each of you, scrutinizing. Well, you don't grab the dragon by the tail. What are you here for, Sonny?
We're looking for
Well,
someone
what about
who
you?
may...
Oh, you can speak.
We're looking for someone who may have visited your den.
You can call it a den. There are certainly some that hovel might be a better fitting term, but you can use the word den. I take no offence at such. We do sell opium. Although I do not let our clients get too far down that particular rabbit burrow.
How do you prevent that from happening?
We do not sell continuously. Some of the other places do. If you want pragmatism, a dead client is no client at all. But this can have some therapeutic advantages if treated with respect. A clarity of thought. Some Shukenja have even said that they get visions, though I've never such experienced that myself. However, if you abuse it, it will completely and utterly consume and destroy you.
Yes, we have seen evidence of that.
I am sure you have. You look smart, as samurai go. I am willing to make you a deal if you can be trusted. Is the word of a samurai worth more than the word of the gruffians on the street?
What sort of a deal?
Well, I suspect that elements of the government are supporting some of the drug trade. It is certainly profitable for them to do so. The downside of that is those of us who are independent and actually trying to not abuse the city's peoples to the point of death are finding it more difficult. And we are finding it more difficult. So, if you, and he points at you both with his cane, find either something of value that is not related to the samurai that you are looking for. I do not wish to steal. That would be appreciated that we could sell it. Alternatively, if in your investigation you find some opium, which is the most expensive part of our operation, we would greatly appreciate having that handed over. In return, I will tell you what I know.
What exactly of value would you expect us to find in our search?
I don't know, but you never know. I don't know where your travels will lead.
Chiaki is looking to Daisuke questioningly.
Does that seem like the sort of thing we could do?
At the end of the day, if it helps us to advance our investigation, I don't think it matters where the opium comes from. Buyers are still going to buy it. I'm not sure that we could be guaranteed of finding anything of value like that.
All right. Well then, if you will tell us what we know, if we find anything that could be of value to you that is not already spoken for, we shall bring it to you.
And he goes over to a desk and he writes something down on a small piece of paper. And then he folds it. And he comes back over and he hands the paper out.
Chiaki will take it.
An address for Dr. Abe. Tell him Yaguro sent you.
We will. I have another question, which is not truthfully related to our search. For someone who has become very addicted to opium, do you know of any ways to help them?
There are many street vendors selling quick fix recovery. I, however, think the best and only effective way is removing oneself from this city, go somewhere, most possibly far away, to the wilderness, somewhere peaceful and beautiful, and let it get out of your system. The process, however, is not pleasant, is not easy. It is a hunger that needs feeding, and not feeding it is not a nice thing to experience.
I see.
But there is no easy way. And once it's got some, it will always try to pull them back. Some, once they leave it, have the ability and the strength to never come back to it. Others, it is not as easy as that.
All right.
I don't touch the stuff myself.
What's the air like in here? Is it thicker or
No,
again? Or is it?
a lot less people.
Yeah.
And it's more aerated. He's got more windows open.
Mm-hmm.
And they look healthier. They probably look a
Modest.
little wealthier too. And when I say wealthier, it's not wealthy. But, I mean, without a proper investigation, you won't know for sure. But he seems to be telling the truth. Like, the people there don't have that haggard skeletal experience, like sort of look that the others had. That it does appear that he No, I'm not. I'm not gonna just like he can't obviously stop someone going somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it does look like they're like nope. You can have some, but I'm not gonna just let you do it 5 days a week and go mental and ruin your life.
Mm.
Is it a good solution? No, it's still opium. It's still and the place still exists largely for money. He probably does believe there's some therapeutic aspects to it. Don't do drugs, kids. That's not a endorsement.
Is there anything else that we need to know before we go speak to the doctor?
No, he will be honest with you. He found something that I think will interest you.
I'm curious as to know if you distribute the new opium strain.
The blue flame? I do not. In all
Do you have
honesty,
any?
I think it doesn't go anywhere other than the government supplied dens. I also think it's dangerous.
The owner, perhaps, of the Golden Dream told us it was more powerful.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But for all power comes a cost. What is the price you will pay for that?
Well, thank you again. I suppose we shall go speak with Dr. Abe.
All right. Well, I guess we're leaving the green rest. And Chiaki will unfold the paper and look at the address.
And down by the docks, you find a small dark brown wooden building, which is the address you have been given.
This, I think, is the place.
And she gestures to the building.
Perhaps we should go inside?
And
As
Chiaki is
long as we
looking
don't
very.
get too close to the water.
I agree. I would like to stay away from that.
And
Likewise.
she is looking very doubtfully at the ocean.
And so is Daisuke. He's looking equally doubtful at the ocean. As if it poses a threat to
I
him.
have truthfully never been close to the sea.
I was unlucky once to be involved with being introduced to the ocean.
Introduced to the. Hello, Daisuke. This is the ocean.
Yep.
I find it to be altogether too large and unnerving.
Aside from the fact that you can't drink it, if one does not learn how to float within it, it is quite difficult to breathe in.
But not impossible.
Well, you can breathe water for a limited time before you just pass out and stop breathing.
I think we should go speak with the doctor.
Yes.
All right. We will enter the building.
We'll look over the building and before entering, I'm assuming it's just a nondescript place.
Pretty nondescript. And there's one sliding door, which is unlocked. And entering it, there is a large 30 by 40 foot sort of room, which is largely empty. Mainly an examination sort of area in the middle. And there is a older gentleman who looks up from where he is sitting with his tea.
Please forgive the intrusion.
How can I help you?
We were told that you might be able to help us with our investigation.
We were
Um,
sent by Yaguro.
And what is it you're looking into?
Missing people.
He goes over and he pulls out a book and he opens it. It's possible he has sent you to me about Yasuki Suzaku.
That is, someone we were told is missing, as well as the individual we were sent to find.
Yasuki Suzaku was fished, I believe, out of the water behind us.
Ah,
A crab samurai. They were brought to me after being pulled from the lagoon. However, she showed signs of being beaten, and some of the wounds were clearly defensive. However, the cause of death was not drowning, but was stabbing. There were marks on both the wrist and ankles, which suggested rough rope was used. There was dust under the fingernails, and I think they may have been in one of the warehouses. They were large, the men that brought her to me. One was distinct and had a cat tattoo. Another was a woman. She said she was a simple lawman, but no doubt she was samurai.
and it was them that said they pulled her from the water?
That is correct. They said they were simple sailors, but I know they were not simple sailors.
Was she known to you at all before she died?
Oh, yes, I don't know. Well, sorry. The samurai who is dead, I do not know. One of the three, I do not know who they are, but I had met them once before to treat a cut several years ago. The scar was still there. They've forgotten. Or they thought that I would have forgotten.
And what do you know of them?
He pulls a green piece of cloth, folded. This was in the young lady's fist, and hands it over.
And does it match the cloth that we found in the alley?
Yes. It has part of a carp on it.
Does this mean anything to you?
The green carp is a symbol of the magistrate's office.
Ah,
They have warehouses for when they capture goods and the like. In this case, I think, and the like, was a crab samurai.
are there many of these warehouses?
I would not think there would be many, but I don't work for the government.
Do you know where we could find these warehouses?
I know the district where they may be, but little more than that.
And what district would that be?
And he tells you. I don't have one. They didn't actually tell me.
Great.
They just said he
He
knows
tells
the
me the
district, but
district.
they didn't give it a name.
Ah, the warehouse district, of course.
And he turns the page in his book as he's going through it, and he said that there was also a symbol that was carved into her skin by the damage and effect. She would have been alive when it was done. And he turns it around and shows you.
Chiaki is looking intently at the symbol that he is showing them. And then, what would Daisuke see? He sees her sort of staring off into the distance for a moment, almost as though she's seeing something that he does not see, and then she sort of jerks back with a startled look and looks quite concerned.
Miss Byakuya-san, are you okay?
I that it I am unsure. That symbol is it's a symbol to do with blood magic, and when I looked at it I saw something.
Blood magic?
Yes, Maho.
Sorcery?
I do not know if what I saw was real.
Where would they do such a thing?
I am not very familiar with blood magic. The only time I have come into contact with it before was before I met you, and it was a blood mage was killing people to take their blood to extend his life. But if she was not drained of blood, then it would not be the same.
And Chiaki will continue to look very shaken.
Daisuke will put his hand on her back trying to console her, but you said you encountered this before?
Not this, no, just blood magic, you asked, and I have not seen this before.
And it gave you a vision?
I don't know if it was a vision. When I looked at it, I saw the Shadowlands and something very far, very something dark in the shadows looked at me.
Doctor, what manner of sorcery is this?
I am a humble physician. I am no Shugenja. I deal only in the mundane.
It's a bad open that something could be peering at us like from the Shadowlands that's still so far away.
I am not very familiar with the Shadowlands or how things work there.
I grew up on the border of the Shadowlands. It's a place where the life is sapped out of you. Many crab have ventured into the Shadowlands and never returned. And he seems lost, sorry, I'm thinking, he seems lost in thought, as if reminiscing something. I wonder if something from the Shadowlands has agents doing their bidding.
Well, whoever killed her would be the ones that carved it into her skin. Yes?
Correct.
So we need to find them to find if that is true.
Why carve a symbol into her skin?
A symbol
not-
of blood magic.
Maybe to sap her energy? Her life force?
She was not drained of blood, was she?
No, she was not.
And where on her skin was this carved?
It was on her back.
I see. And it was recent, very soon before she died, or?
I believe so. Although, blood loss may have been a contributing factor to her death. She was stabbed just under the ribs on the right-hand side, which was the cause of death, that I believe. She did not drown.
Have you ever seen something like this on anyone before?
I've long ago there was a series of deaths attributed to the same killer. He was a madman, however. This felt ritualistic, though I must confess I do not know the ritual that it is connected to, but it felt that way.
Seems to be more than this. Well, it seems... There. There seems to be more to this than meets the eye.
More than we thought. It seems as though it may be more than simply corruption in the government. Which was, truth be told, enough to be worrying about. If we assume that the others who are missing have met the same fate, then their deaths must be worth something to somebody more so than them remaining alive. They all were in debt, and everyone here has told us that those who are in debt, once they are out of money, someone will still find a use for them, which what worth would being killed in such a way bring? It is not a warning to others, as very few know, and if it is a ritual, what are they gaining from it?
In some way, the debt still lies unresolved, unless someone is outright lying to us. I can see why might find a use for someone who owes them a significant debt, perhaps to gain some form of information.
But if the value came from information and they were no longer needed, surely they would simply kill them and not go through the trouble of doing so in a ritualistic way. The only thing I can think of is that there was some value in killing someone this way.
But the value to who?
To whoever killed them.
Yes, but we were assuming that... Let me get this straight. We were assuming that the people who have disappeared have owed debts to someone.
We are not assuming. We know that is the case.
That the debts were beyond repayable. So they were used in some way to offset that debt, per se. Anyone who wants to ritualistic kill another person who's not directly involved doesn't seek to remedy those debts, but more to maybe... It doesn't make sense to kill them in the sense that one would still expect to have further use for someone unless
greater value was provided by their death. If this ritual accomplished something that would
So
be...
the greater value may be, in case, keeping something silent.
If the intention was merely to silence someone, it would not be necessary to kill them in such a way.
These corrupt officials wouldn't have ties to the Shadowlands, surely.
I could not say.
Would hate to think if there was magic involved with it.
I think we need to investigate more before drawing too many conclusions. Everything we have found out so far leads back to the samurai, the ones who have been seen almost everywhere we have gone and have threatened the moneylender and brought the crab samurai here. So, should we not look for them?
Hey.
He suddenly says,
Dr. Abe,
Fine.
is there anything else you can think of that has any relevance to, I suppose, any of this?
No, only this is very strange and dangerous. I mean no offense, but for one so young, I would tread carefully.
We shall do our best. Should we let Rin know before we go chasing after
evil samurai, or do we just want to keep going?
I think so. I would feel a lot safer with Rin at my back than...
We should go let Saito-san know, then.
Back to the inn, the first one.
And she's inside, sitting at a table with some tea that's been set out.
And Chiaki's gonna go sit down by her.
She opens her eyes and looks up questioningly.
All of the information that we have found so far has led to us believing that we need to seek out some certain individuals. However, they may be very dangerous.
She signs dangerous with a sort of a look on her face that...
They may have killed at least one person in a very odd manner.
And she signs quickly and then points to you and points sort of upwards the side of her head. So how do you know?
The people we are looking for brought a dead samurai to a doctor and said that they were sailors who had pulled her from the water. However, she had been stabbed and beaten and had a symbol carved into her skin, and the doctor said that they were very clearly not sailors, but samurai.
Yes, she had been stabbed upwards underneath the right side of her rib cage. Yes, 2 large males and a large female. One of the males apparently had a cat tattoo on the side of his neck. And Rin turns to Daisuke and looks at him questioningly. Yes, a cat tattoo. Miss Byakuya-san knows of a clan that uses the cat as a symbol, but
Not a samurai clan.
it's not a samurai clan.
They are the only group I know of that would use a cat as a symbol, but I cannot think of any reason why they would be connected to this. It does not. No.
And Rin cocks her head to one side and she looks at Chiaki and then back at Daisuke and then flurries off a set of symbols and hand signatures. Flurries off a set of hand gestures. And Daisuke turns to Chiaki. Miss Saito-san would like to know where we're going to begin looking for the 3 samurai.
The only location we have to start with would be the warehouses that the doctor told us were in a certain district, and they are government warehouses where they store things they have seized. I believe normally smuggled goods, but this doctor thought that that is perhaps where she had been before she was brought to him.
Asking hired muscle.
I do not know.
And she signs to Chiaki, you want me to follow.
Yes, Daisuke said that he would feel more comfortable if you were there as well.
Miss Byakuya-san put me into...
But you did.
And he looks a little bit red-faced and Rin looks at him slyly, shakes her head.
You should know better than to expect her to lie about anything.
She signs, I will get my sword. What surprises me is that we have not encountered any of the local authorities. But I could almost certainly guarantee that they're watching, but I have not managed to see any. And not long later, Rin returns after packing her shamisen away back in the room, and she has her daisho she throws Daisuke his bow. Oh, yes. As he catches it, he sort of stumbles and fumbles it a little bit. Don't think we should expect any trouble, but
I would suspect trouble.
you would suspect trouble?
Yes, you would not?
I don't think we should prepare to expect trouble, but
And on that confusing note, we're off to a warehouse. She has been looking as well as we've been going along, and eventually she will draw their attention to a doorway that has a curtain, which is partially torn, and the bit that is remaining has half of a carp pattern on the fabric.
I think this is the place we're looking for.
I think you are right. This fabric matches the fabric that we found in the alley.
Yes.
And Rin signs here then, and Daisuke looks around. There's no one around?
No one outside. Like, there's people walking the street, but none of them look anything other than peasants. It is a wooden structure with sliding doors. They are larger doors at the front and there are rear, and there is a smaller door on the rear side. It looks run down, but not falling apart.
Shall we go in through the front door or through the side door?
Which would be a more cautious thing to do?
Well, I have gotten myself into places where I probably should not have been in the past. This might not necessarily be the best place to break into, especially if authority is watching us.
So we should walk in through the front door?
I think so.
If you think it
And-
best.
Rin gestures.
Chiaki will follow them in if they're gonna go in through the front.
You slide open the door and walk in. There are several crates. There are several barrels. There are 4 ruffians.
The Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game is available from Edge Studios, starring RavenInsane as Rin, Emily as Chiaki, and Ghost as the storyteller. Sounds and music were provided by Sirenscape and Nash Music Library. This has been a Critfail production. Thank you very much for listening.